This is Nordic Stories, where true events from the cold and distant north are brought to life. Tales of war and survival, of mystery, courage, and human endurance. Every week, a new journey into the history, legends, crimes, and untold minds that shaped the North. Now, prepare for one of the coldest and most haunting battles ever fought. Frozen hell, the Battle of Raate Road. Cold, silent, endless white. This is the story of a small nation standing against one of the largest armies the world had ever seen. A story of courage, survival, and the frozen road that became a graveyard of steel. November 1939. Europe is already at war. Only 3 months earlier, Germany invaded Poland, and the Second World War began. But far to the north, in a small, distant country called Finland, another storm is about to break. Finland, a nation of just under 4 million people, independent for only 22 years. Its army is small, its weapons are old, and on its eastern border stands a giant, the Soviet Union. Joseph Stalin does not see Finland as an enemy, but as a problem. To him, Finland's border lies dangerously close to Leningrad, only 30 kilometers away. He fears that if war with Germany comes, an attack could come through Finland. So he demands territory, a buffer zone. He calls it a matter of security. Finland calls it the beginning of an invasion. When Finland refuses, Stalin makes his decision. At dawn on November 30th, 1939, the Soviet Union attacks without warning. Bombers strike Helsinki, Viipuri, and dozens of towns. The Winter War has begun. Stalin's plan looks perfect on paper. The Red Army has 450,000 men. Finland has less than half that number. The Soviets have tanks, artillery, and thousands of aircraft. Finland has almost none. But Stalin's army has a hidden weakness: fear. His political purges have destroyed its leadership. Thousands of officers have been imprisoned, executed, or silenced. What remains is an army that obeys orders, but cannot think. In contrast, Finland's defense is led by experienced officers, men like Mannerheim and Siilasvuo, who know their land, their forests, and their people. They have no illusions of victory. They fight to survive. Colonel Hjalmar Siilasvuo, commanding the Finnish 9th Division, prepares his men in the frozen forests of Kainuu. He knows he cannot stop tanks with tanks, so he plans to stop them with time, silence, and cold. He says quietly, "Let the forest be our ally. Let the winter fight for us." By mid-December, Soviet forces push deep into eastern Finland. The 163rd Division crosses the border near Suomussalmi, a small village with one key road, Raate Road. That road leads to Oulu. And if Oulu falls, Finland will be cut in half. The Soviets advance confidently. Their maps show broad roads and bridges that do not exist. Their trucks sink into snow. Their engines freeze. When they reach Suomussalmi village, they are exhausted, isolated, and surrounded by silence. Siilasvuo's men begin their counterattack. They move on skis through the forest, striking supply lines, burning trucks, and vanishing into the dark. The Soviets cannot understand how such small forces can appear everywhere at once. Within weeks, the 163rd Division is destroyed. Its survivors retreat east toward Raate Road, and Stalin sends reinforcements. The 44th Division, 17,000 men, heading straight into the trap. January 1940. The cold tightens its grip, minus 40 degrees Celsius. Engines crack, oil freezes, men die standing. The 44th Division stretches for over 20 kilometers along Raate Road, a single narrow icy ribbon through endless forest. At its head, General Vinogradov leads his men forward, unaware that the Finnish 9th Division surrounds him. Siilasvuo gives a simple order: let them come, then close the road. On January 4th, both ends of the road are cut off. The Red Army is trapped between snow, silence, and the enemy they cannot see. Pockets of soldiers form along the road. The Finns strike quickly, isolate them, and move on. They do not need to destroy the enemy all at once. The cold will finish what bullets cannot. At night, the forest glows orange from burning trucks. By morning, only frozen silence remains. January 6th. The trap is complete. Inside the encirclement, thousands of Soviet soldiers huddle beside dead fires. Their breath freezes midair. Their rifles jam with ice. They have no food, no fuel, no hope. The Finns attack in waves of white, silent shapes on skis, striking from every direction. One Soviet diary found later in the snow reads, "We hear the skis. We see nothing. The night never ends." By January 8th, the road is nothing but wreckage, shattered tanks, frozen bodies, horses standing like statues of ice. When the last battle ends, the air smells of oil, gunpowder, and death. 17,000 Soviet soldiers are dead, wounded, or captured. More than 50 tanks and hundreds of vehicles are destroyed. The Finns lose about 400 men, but they gain something far greater: belief. News travels fast. When reports reach the West, the world is stunned. Headlines call it the miracle of the North. A small nation has defeated a superpower in one of the coldest battles in history. In London and New York, Finland becomes a symbol of courage. Thousands volunteer to help. Even those who cannot come send supplies, money, and prayers. In Moscow, Stalin rages. General Vinogradov and his staff are arrested and executed. The Red Army buries the truth in silence, but the truth cannot be buried under snow. The Battle of Raate Road changes everything. The Red Army reforms its command, its training, and its winter tactics. And for Finland, it becomes a story, not of victory, but of endurance. Marshal Mannerheim writes in his diary, "In Kainuu, men fought not with hatred but with duty, and that made them stronger. When spring finally comes, the snow melts slowly. From beneath it emerge helmets, rifles, and letters that never reached home. Local villagers return to their land. They find fields filled with metal and silence. They bury the dead, friend and foe alike." One old man says, years later, "The forest remembers more than men do. The soldiers who survived rarely spoke of it. They returned to their farms and families, silent, unchanged, but marked. For them, Raate Road was not glory, it was survival." Decades later, historians uncover Soviet reports, hidden for 50 years. One line stands out: "They did not fight for power, they fought for home. That is why we could not defeat them." Raate Road is now quiet. A memorial stands beside the forest, a wall of stones, each one for a fallen man. In winter, visitors light candles that flicker in the same cold wind that once froze 1,000 lives. The battle is long over, but the echo remains, a whisper carried by the northern wind, a reminder that courage is not always loud, and that sometimes the coldest place on earth can show the warmest part of humanity. This was frozen hell, the Battle of Raate Road, a story of endurance, silence, and survival from the far north. If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe so you won't miss the next stories from Nordic Stories.